Ladies and gentlemen, this article came out in the New York Times and it says everybody better get ready for an avalanche of evictions across the country. So, this is the New York Times. An avalanche of evictions could be bearing down on America's renters. And this came out May 27th, 2020. The United States already wrestling with an economic collapse not seen in a generation is facing a wave of evictions as government relief payments and legal protections run out of millions of out of work Americans who have little financial cushion and few choices when looking for new housing. The hardest hit are tenants who had low incomes and little savings even before the pandemic and whose housing costs ate up more than their paychecks. They were also more likely in work industries where job losses have been particularly severe. Temporary government assistance has helped as the government orders that put evictions on hold in many cities, but evictions will soon be allowed in about half of the states, according to Emily Benford, a housing expert and associate professor at Columbia Law School who is tracking eviction policies. I think we will enter into a severe renter crisis, and very quickly, Professor Benford said. Without a new round of government intervention, she added, we will have an avalanche of evictions across the country. That means more and more families may soon experience the dreaded eviction notice on the front door, the stomach turning knock from sheriff deputies, the possessions piled up on the sidewalk. They will face displacement at a time when people are still being urged to stay at home, to keep themselves and their communities safe. With the death toll from the virus now passing 100,000 in the United States, the fear of eviction has been eating away at many. Wow. In many places, the threat has already begun. The Texas Supreme Court recently ruled that evictions could begin again in the nation's second largest city. In Oklahoma City, area sheriffs apologetically announced that they're planning to start enforcing eviction notices this week. And a handful of states, like Ohio, had a few statewide protections in place to begin with, leaving residents particularly vulnerable as eviction cases stack up or ticked forward during the pandemic. Wow. So, it's a few stories in here about people that found an eviction notice already on their doors. The real estate company, what they're saying is, they have to move forward. I guess as landlords, they have to be paid. 90% of renters made full or partial rent payments by late May, down 2% from last year. Lawyers and landlords alike fear that the trend will not last. More than 38 million people have filed jobless claims in March, including a high proportion of people living in households making less than $40,000 a year. In a survey released this month by the Census Bureau, nearly a quarter of respondents say they missed their last rent or mortgage payment or had little to no confidence that they would be able to pay the next month. The devastation has drawn comparison to the Great Recession when millions of people lost their homes during a foreclosure crisis. But this time, renters are likely to be on the front lines. We sort of expect this to be more of a renter's crisis than a home ownership crisis, said Eleanor Lee Raymond, an assistant professor at the Georgia Institute of Technology, who focuses on affordable housing and real estate. Even before the current joblessness crisis, evictions was troubling common American life. Researchers estimate about 3.7 million eviction cases were filed in 2016, a year when the unemployment rate was 4.7%. Now we have 14.7%, said Matthew Desmond, a sociologist at Princeton and the author of the book Evicted, who was leading an effort at the university eviction lab to track cases nationally. Without intervention, he said, I don't see how we would have a wave of evictions. A $3 trillion coronavirus bill backed by House Democrats includes a proposal to dedicate $100 million for rental assistance, a measure that could bring broad relief, but Republicans have criticized the package as too costly and that it is unlikely to pass in its current form. So if this don't go through, then a lot of people are going to be in trouble. And some argue that the federal government has already intervened effectively in a form of a stimulus check and $600 weekly boost to unemployment payments. Many low-wage workers are making more money on unemployment than they were when they were working, said Ken Rosen, an economist at the University of California, Berkeley. It's happening not through the housing system, but through unemployment compensation system, he said. But there is a looming question about what happens next. People may be paying their rent, but at what cost? I know several people who are taking out title loans. They are paying their rent on their credit card. Many landlords said they are working with tenants, waiving late fees, and advocating that the government covers missed rent. We are in uncharted waters, said Tom Banyan, chief executive of the California Apartment Association, who added that most landlords were not eager to evict residents when there was little guarantee of a replacement. Still, landlords have bills to pay too. When tenants cannot pay their rent, landlords with mortgages remain responsible to the bank, who answer to investors. I call it the responsibility chain, Mr. Bannon said. There is this link, and if there is a break in the link, the ripple effect is pretty significant. Among the first to face eviction have been those who were already struggling before the pandemic. Yeah. It's got to be stressful for people. The people are unemployment. It's not their fault. You know, I would have thought the government would have done a better job in assisting these people, but I guess, with the Republicans saying they are going to reject this bill, then that certainly leaves people in a situation where, they're going to have to fight an eviction notice or try to come up with some kind of payment to, you know, the landlord, even if it's partial, if they would accept that. But something definitely has to be done. Remember, they were more concerned about giving money to pastors than helping the landlords and renters in the country. Unbelievable. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.